Starting with Espeon, this fragile special attacker has some great speed and can and will put in a bunch of work kicking butt and taking names with moves like Psychic, Hell, Aura Sphere, Power Gem, or if you want just a big beat stick, you can go for Hyper Beam, or if you're being crafty with weather teams, you get it Weather Ball, allowing for a very strong elemental attack based on whatever weather you're using. Or you could even run Espeon in a more support role with Yawn, Dream Eater, Nightmare, Wish, or Baton Pass to get that Wish out of there and heal. Can't go wrong either way how you do with Espeon. But unfortunately, it seems like the AI in this game really hates Espeon at times and will just hard focus it any chance it gets, leading it to die a lot. But either way, Espeon's a fantastic Pokemon to use on your team. Umbreon, the tanky opposite of Espeon. In Grand Colosseum, Umbreon's moveset is almost entirely status and support moves, be it stuff like Helping Hand, Heal Bell, Moonlight, Curse, Wish, or even just Baton Pass to get all those buffs onto a different Pokemon. Or Umbreon can even be the ultimate debuffer by having access to Tickle, Yawn, Torment, Charm, Screech, Fake Tears, or even Snarl. With TMs, you can give it Toxic, Swagger, Substitute. Or we'll say, in my experience, the AI seems to completely just ignore Umbreon, unless it's the final Pokemon standing, so it can just stand there and be the ultimate support, and can probably carry you, honestly. Furret is an interesting case. It gains the ground type and got a nice buff to its physical attack, its defenses, and its speed. For moves, it gains access to Zen Headbutt, Reversal, and High Horsepower. With TMs, it gets access to the Elemental Punches, Power Up Punch, Shadow Claw, or even Thief. Or you can forego offense altogether and have the adorable 5-foot-long Ferret go full support. With its new added bulk and speed, it gets access to Helping Hand, Agility, Baton Pass, Amnesia, and Charm. Grand Colosseum has a total of 3 versions, one for Kanto, one for Johto, and one for Hoenn. So let's just start with the Kanto ones. Like the Johto starters, the middle Evos are the exact same, so I'm just going to go straight to the final Evos. Venasour has gotten a very minor increase to its special stat. It gets access to Growth, Synthesis, Leech Seed, and for some bulk and sustainability. It gets access to both screens for defense, and for offense it gets access to Seed Bomb, Sludge Bomb, Knock Off, Power Whip. Oddly enough, it gets Mystical Fire. It also gets access to Sunny Day, so if you want to have a Sun team and activate that Chlorophyll ability, Venusaur can make a good choice for that. But honestly, I think Thick Fat is a better ability to take half damage from Fire and Ice. But overall, Venusaur is a very solid option. Charizard gets a rather strange buff, in my opinion. It gets the Dragon type. It also gets the ability Levitate, but its stats stay exactly the same, so I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. But Charizard also gets access to Heat Wave, which is super useful in a game that's entirely double battles. It gets Air Slash, Dragon Pulse, Dual Wing Beat, Belly Drum, Hurricane, hell yeah. Charizard's gonna be able to do Charizard things, and just fit perfectly into a team. Blastoise gets the Steel type and a very minor HP increase. Blastoise has such a weird moveset to me. It gets Fake Out, Follow Me, Counter, Mirror Coat, Iron Defense, Water Spout, but yet it also gets like Aura Sphere, Flash Cannon, Aqua Jet, Hydro Pump, and Iron Head. It also learns Rain Dance to make use of that Rain Dish or boost the Rain team in general, but I'd say you're probably better off with that Shell Armor. Like all starters, can't go wrong with Blastoise. Bayleaf, just like Quilava and Croconaw, remain exactly the same as they do in Vanilla, so I'll just skip straight to talk about their Evos instead. Meganium is a wall that's going to be tough for it to go down, having access to both screens, Synthesis, Leech Seed, And to make use of its nice buff to special attack, it gets access to Moonblast, Mystical Fire. Through TM, it gets Energy Ball, Giga Drain, Substitute. Oddly enough, it gets Earthquake and Swords Dance for some reason. I wouldn't recommend giving either of those to it since it has a lower physical attack. But, honestly, with the nice buffs Meganium got, Meganium could easily fit a nice role on any team. Typhlosion gets the ground type and a very minor special attack increase. It gets Flamethrower shortly after evolving, and a little bit after that it gets Earth Power. And much later, till about around level 70-ish, it gets access to Eruption. But other than those, it doesn't really learn much. Almost all of the TMs it can learn are physical moves, but with its physical attack being nerfed, even if it's a very minor nerf, it's kind of hard to suggest moves for it. If you want a fire or a ground mon, that is basically all Typhlosion will do, but at least it's gonna hit like a truck with those moves. Feraligator. It gets the dark type, as well as a pretty decent buff to its physical attack, and the whole Totodile line gets the Intimidate ability, being one of the most arguable best abilities of the entire series. Feraligator gets access to Crunch, Night Slash, Waterfall, High Horsepower, freaking Dragon Dance. Through TMs, it gets access to Swords Dance, Dragon Claw, Shadow Claw, Earthquake, Power Up Punch, Aerial Ace, Brick Break, Ice Punch. Feraligator's got some options, and it's going to be an absolute physical monster and just destroy its opponents. Sceptile gets the Dragon type, as well as Lightning Rod, which is a fantastic ability for doubles. It also gets a very minor special attack boost for a little extra oomph in its attacks. Sceptile gets good old reliable Leaf Blade, Dragon Dance, Night Slash, Dragon Pulse, as well as Synthesis and Leech Seed, and Energy Ball by TM, and a bunch of other physical moves by TM. It's very odd to me that a primarily special attacker gets mostly physical moves, but hey, that's more common than you'd think in both the mainline game and in fan games. But hey, at least just like the other two grass starters, Sceptile gets Mystical Fire, so hell yeah. Blaziken gets a very minor special boost, like many other mons so far. It also gets its hit ability, Speed Boost. Blaziken gets access to Flamethrower, Aura Sphere, Brave Bird. Oddly, it gets Mirror Move and Bounce of all things. Blaziken also gets Bulk Up and Baton Pass if you want to make another mon stronger or tankier. Blaziken is going to rack house, but something deep within me tells me the AI is going to hard focus Blaziken whenever it gets the chance, meaning Blaziken's going to probably die very frequently, but other than that, Blaziken's going to be a solid member of your team. Man, Swampert gets freaking damp as its only change. Yeah, that can be helpful and slightly more so in doubles, but I would assume, even in this hack, Self-Destruct and Explosion are just so rare, it's not going to be that helpful. But whatever, give Swampert only Dab, while everybody else gets some fun abilities. Well, for moves, Swampert gets Aqua Jet, Sludge Wave, Earthquake, or Hydro Pump. If you're feeling for some Razzle Dazzle, you could use Barrier and Amnesia, along with Mirror Coat and Counter, or for some extra spice, little pizzazz, you could use Defense Curl with Rollout or Ice Ball for some big damage on things. Sunflora has gotten some pretty nice buffs. It has gotten some extra bulk and HP, and by swapping its attack and defense, hell, it even got a really big special attack boost. Sunflora even gets Heat Wave, Petal Dance, Earth Power, and surprise, surprise, like the other three grass type Pokemon we've seen so far, it gets Mystical Fire. Although this is more fitting in Sunflora's case. I will say it's a shame that with all the fire moves that Sunflora gets, it's a shame they didn't make it part fire so it can get stabbed with it, but oh well. With TMs, it gets access to Energy Ball and doesn't gleam. Minus its speed, Sunflora is a force to be reckoned with, but if you're using a Sun team, that Chlorophyll is going to absolutely make Sunflora a monster, and I can't believe I'm even saying that. Noctowl has gotten a pretty sizable buff, be it its extra bulk in its HP and its defense, or its special attack. Noctowl is a much bulkier psychic type than Espeon, and it has a downright nasty ability, being Compound Eyes, boosting its accuracy of its moves. Speaking of moves that benefit from that ability, it gets Hypnosis to be just annoying to the enemy. It gets Heat Wave, Hurricane. It's gonna just hit like a truck. It gets access to Moonblast and Nasty Plot too. Air Slash, Psychic. If it's a little too slow for your liking, you could teach Agility. Man, Noctowl has never been better, and it probably never will in vanilla games. Flaafy got a boost in its defenses, but honestly, the biggest buff comes when it evolves into Ampharos. Upon evolving, it gets the Dragon type, and an astonishing 135 special attack. With Dragon Pulse, Power Gem, it gets Thunderbolt by TM. It can also make that already high special go right through the roof with freaking Tail Glow. Be it a vanilla Pokemon game or a hack, the Mareep has always been a reliable Pokemon that you can get at the very beginning of the game and will carry you through at the end. Whiscash got a buff to its attack and speed, but before I get into the moves that Whiscash can learn, seeing its odd stat spread really makes me wonder what dictates Game Freak making stats for Mons, because this spread seems just very random and arbitrary, but I digress. It has nothing to really do with the recommendations and moves. It gets Earthquake, Muddy Water for some strong spread damage. It gets Dragon Dance and Amnesia for stat boosting. Rest and Snore. Weirdly, it gets Bounce. I don't know why. It's just weird seeing Bounce on the moveset. Whiscash is going to be a fantastic option for spread damage and being bulky, kind of. Magmar has taken a small hit to its speed, but it got a nice buff to its defense and special attack, making it more special-oriented than its usual mixed self. But it still works pretty well as a mixed attacker, with moves such as Mach and Fire Punch, Cross Chop. With the help of Belly Drum, it can just murder things. It gets Heat Wave, or just like everything else so far, it gets Mystical Fire. Heck yeah. What doesn't get that at this point? Magmar is an all-rounder Pokemon that can fit basically any role that you need for your team. Misdrevus has gotten a substantial buff, not only in its stats, but it also got the Fairy type. Misdrevus does mischievous things. That's kind of hard to say, I don't know why I wrote that. Such as using Pain Split, Taunt, Torment, Destiny Bond, or hell, you could use Memento. If Mischief isn't your game and you prefer more offense, it gets Shadow Ball, Moonblast, Nasty Plot, and of course, it gets Mystical Fire. Because at this point, it's just downright ridiculous how many things are getting Mystical Fire. Kirlia has gotten a pretty huge off-stats up, minus physical attack. It evolves into the special powerhouse that is Gardevoir. Gardevoir gets Calm Mind, Psychic, and Moonblast, but if you prefer spread damage, it gets Dazzling Gleam instead. It can use Hypnosis and Dream Eater, but not to the effect that Noctowl can, due to Hypnosis' poor accuracy. But Gardevoir also gets Wish if healing is wanted instead. Gardevoir gets Memento and Destiny Bond to debilitate or KO its foe. Or if going out with a bang is more your style, it gets freaking Misty Explosion. But also, more importantly, just like everything else so far, it gets Mystical Fire. You can't go wrong with Gardevoir. Ariados has gotten a big buff to its attack and its speed. Ariados gets Glare and Rage Powder, as well as Lunge to be a disruptor, but it can also do some big damage with Leech Life, Poison Jab, and eventually Mega Horn. While Ariados is a formidable attacker, I personally prefer Ariados being more of the disruptor that it is in the vanilla games, since in Grand Colosseum it loses both Sticky Webs and its Gen 7 signature move Toxic Thread, but if you're wanting a physical attacker, consider using Ariados. Volbeat has gotten a buff to its HP and its special defense, and a massive increase to its special attack, allowing it to actually be a threat with its signature move Tail Glow, or it can pass that special boost from Tail Glow, or the potential Omni boost from Silverwind with Baton Pass to make another mon super deadly. Volbeat gets access to Signal Beam or Bug Buzz. Weirdly, it gets Water Pulse. With TMs, it gets Flash Cannon, Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt. I will say the biggest downside to all of the buffs Volbeat gets is the fact that all abilities in Grand Colosseum are their Gen 3 versions and not updated to Gen 7 with everything else. Meaning, Lightning Rod will make you take the damage instead of being immune to electric moves, and you also won't get the special attack boost. But even with this downside, all of these buffs that Volbeat has gotten, this is probably going to be the only time Volbeat will ever be useful, so consider using a Volbeat. Tropius gets a small HP buff and a pretty big buff to both of its attacks, making it capable of being a mixed attacker, while also being bulky with having thick fat, having the damage of both fire and ice type moves. Tropius gets access to Leaf Blade and Air Slash, Dual Wing Beat, and gets Leech Seed. With a TM, it gets Roost for survivability. It gets access to both Growth and Dragon Dance, boosting whichever attack you prefer. Tropius gets Hurricane, and similarly to like every other grass type we've seen so far, and a few other non-grass types, it gets Mystical Fire. That's the important thing. This Gentle Giant makes a wonderful teammate. Sneasal has got a buff to its attack and speed, making it even more of a physical sweeper. Sneasal gets Ice Shard for priority, it gets Psycho Cut, Night Slash, Icicle Crash, Knock Off, and Triple Axle. Sneasal's gonna hit things hard and probably outspeed everything. Sneasal being a glass cannon can be so much fun to use, but at the same time, it is very frail and will probably die if it doesn't kill first. But if you want a physical attacker, go ahead, use Sneasal. Mawhile is a force to be reckoned with due to its combo of the buffs to both of its defenses and it having huge power. Jesus Christ. Mawhile gets Poison Fang, Play Rough, Iron Head, Knock Off, Super Fang. By 10, it even gets Swords Dance and Power Up Punch for even more just destruction. And if you want a more defensive Mawhile, it gets access to Torment, Stockpile, Counter. Good lord, this Mawhile is just going to easily be able to make a good team member. Stantler has gotten basically a pretty big all stats up. Stantler gets access to Zen Headbutt, Wild Charge, Lunge, High Horsepower, Mega Horn. By TM, it gets both Screens, Psychic, Shadow Ball, and Earthquake. Stantler is a versatile Pokemon, and it has gone from being completely average to being something extremely excellent. Lanturn. This adorable mon has gotten a pretty huge buff to its special attack. Lanturn gets Surf, Amnesia, and Discharge. By TM, it gets Icy Wind and Thunderbolt. Lanturn is actually very hard for me to recommend, because no matter how much I love this mon, like, Whiscash is a better bulky water type with spread moves that doesn't hurt your other mon. Flaafy and the future electric Pokemon we'll see are just better electric types. Even with this buff to its special attack, Lanturn is outclassed by pretty much every other special attacker we've seen so far. This just hurts me so much to say this, because Lanturn is in my top favorite Pokemon, but I guess if you want an extra challenge, use Lanturn. Lairon is one of those rare mons that is basically unchanged from vanilla. Lairon gets access to Takedown, Double Edge, and Head Smash for massive damage with no downside thanks to its ability. Lairon gets Iron Head, and it even gets Cursed to make it even more of a dangerous machine. When it evolves, it becomes into Aggron. When it evolves into Aggron, it becomes a pure Steel type, and is also basically unchanged stat-wise from Vanilla. Lairon is going to hit like a truck and take hits like it's nothing. Plusle has gotten a great boost to its special attack and its speed, and with swapping its attack and defense, it got a little bit of bulk to it. Plusle gets Discharge, Signal Beam, and Moonblast, as well as Grass Knot. But Plusle is almost entirely support-based. It gets Helping Hand, Encore, Agility, Baton Pass, Fake Tears, Skill Swap, and Wish. Plus is almost entirely of a useless ability. The only mon that gets Minun is the Flaafy, but Static is probably better off on Flaafy. Skill Swap is going to be a great asset to swap around abilities, and honestly, the stat buff is nice, and so is having the Fairy type, but in my opinion, the biggest buff that Minun got Plusle got, was simply making it level 35 instead of the level 15 that it is in the original game, so you could actually conceivably use Plusle on your team if you want. Hitmontop has got a buff to its HP, giving it more bulk, I guess to make better use of counter. Hitmontop is our first, and perhaps only mon that gets access to Rapid Spin to get rid of entry hazards. Other moves include Fake Out, Triple Axle, Mach Punch, Bullet Punch, Drill Run. For those high risk, high reward plays, it gets High Jump Kick. Hitmontop also holds the distinction of being one of 3 fighting type Pokemon that we get access to, 4 if you're using the Hoenn hack. But one of them isn't until the very end of the game, so it's one of 2 fighting types we get in the entire game, and it's a solid choice for any team. Moltres, the legendary Phoenix. Let's get the downside off first. It's majorly weak to Rock, being ×4 weakness. Just tiny little pebble is going to take it out of the sky. And honestly, Rock feels oddly common in this hack. For moves, Moltres gets Air Slash, Weather Ball, Scorching Sand, Lava Plume, Mystical Fires, hell yeah. It also is one of few Pokemon that gets access to Sunny Day, since the TM for it no longer exists in this hack. Moltres will make a fantastic Sun Setter for your team if you're using Weather Team. With TMs, it gets access to Roost and Flamethrower. If you can get past its ×4 weak to Rock, and due to it being legendary, I have a feeling the AI is going to hard focus it to get it off the field immediately. If you're looking for a fire type and aren't against using a legendary on your team for some arbitrary reason to make yourself feel better than somebody else, you can't go wrong with Moltres, especially since the Grand Colosseum is much harder than Vanilla. Entei, the erupting volcano. Entei is a little faster than it would appear. It's going to hit very hard with its physical attack, and it can even take some hits due to its HP. Its main drawback is Entei has an extremely limited move pool. It starts with Crunch and Flamethrower, and when purified it gets Extreme Speed. It also gets Sunny Day, and like I mentioned with Moltres, the TM for Sunny Day no longer exists, so Entei will make a really great Sun Setter for using weather teams. Entei gets a new move every 10 levels, and it doesn't even get Flame Blitz to make use of that stellar physical attack until level 71. It gets Eruption at 81, but you won't even get close to that by the end of the game unless you wish to spend hours grinding. Entei is going to do one thing and one thing only, but it's going to do it excellently. Regirock, the Stone Golem. Regirock is our first Rock-type Pokemon, not counting Lairon since it doesn't stay Rock when it evolves. Regirock is a wall, literally, with that 200 defense. This wall is also capable of doing some huge damage too. For moves, Regirock gets Curse, Drain Punch, Ancient Power, Super Power, and for funsies, Explosion to just nuke the field. With TMs, it gets Bulldoze to lower the speed of the opponents, it gets Thunder Wave oddly, it gets Earthquake, and even Power Up Punch. Of the 3 Rock-type Pokemon available if you're using the Hoenn version of the game, Regirock is definitely the best, due to its massive defenses. Even if the AI hard focuses Regirock, it's not going down easily. Regirock is definitely a perfect team member for this much harder version of Colosseum. Piloswine has gotten a decent buff to its attack and a pretty great buff to its bulk, both in stats and with the ability Thick Fat, giving it resistance to fire at least. Piloswine gets access to Ice Charm for priority, it gets Curse, High Horsepower, Icicle Crash. While Piloswine is good, it's going to be hard to use due to it being really slow and having many weaknesses. But if you want to use an Ice type and you weren't using Sneasal, you gotta use Piloswine. Articuno, the Arctic Winds. Articuno is an odd case, as in, it's the only legendary in this game that's been changed from its vanilla counterpart, and what was changed was they swapped its special defense with its special attack, making it getting to hit harder. Articuno gets Ice Beam, Blizzard, Hurricane, Weather Ball, and for funsies, Cheer Cold. You never know when you're going to just get the insta-kill. Articuno is a great special attacker and a great Ice type if you didn't use Sneasal or Piloswine. Suicune, the Crystal Aurora. Suicune is the very definition of a bulky water type. For moves, it gets Surf, Snarl, Air Slash. With TM, it gets Ice Beam, Icy Wind, Scald, Reflect, Calm Mind. Suicune is a fantastic support Pokemon, and from being able to lower its opponent's speed for a special attack, or boosting the defense of the whole squad thanks to Reflect, or getting burns with Scald, which is highly common. Sadly, no Tailwind since that move doesn't exist in this hack. You can't go wrong with a bulky water type with a full support. Regice, the Walking Glacier. Regice is the special version of Regirock. Regice gets Icy Wind, Explosion, Lock On, Zap Cannon, Sheer Cold. With TMs, it gets Ice Beam, Blizzard, Flash Cannon, Thunderwave, and Thunderbolt. While Regice is going to hit pretty hard with its special, it might not get to do too much due to it being so slow and Ice being one of, if not the worst type defensively, and the AI is most likely going to focus it down before it can do anything. But downsides aside, when will you ever get a chance to use a Regice during a main story of the game besides now? And to me, that alone makes Regice a fun team member. Weezing is a bulky physical wall that got a buff to its special attack, making it a wall mixed attacker breed. For moves, it gets Haze, Clean Split, Screech, Bond, Destiny Bond, Explosion, Memento, and Sludge Wave. It also gets both Giga Impact and Hyper Beam. For TMs, it gets Sludge Bomb, Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, and of course Toxic, but as this is Gen 7 mechanics, everything can still use Toxic. Weezing is a jack of all trades and can be great if you're looking for an all-rounder to play the team. Ursula has gotten a great boost to its defenses and a massive buff to its special attack. For moves, it gets Cover, Power Gem, Surf, Earth Power, Mirror Coat, Ingrain, and Explosion. Ursula has the bulk and the survivability to pretty much outlast everything, and thanks to its buff to its special attack, it's gonna hit back pretty hard too. I'm saying this, but Corsola is going to be such a fantastic team member if you can get past it being so slow. Alolan Marowak has got a small HP buff, giving it slightly more bulk. Marowak gets Shadow Bone, Flame Wheel, Bone Ring, Air Song, Flame Blitz, and Belly Drum, and Noctowl. Due to Gen 3 abilities, shenanigans, and stuff, try to get a Marowak with Rock Head, as Lightning Rod won't help too much. Marowak comes holding the Thick Club, so it's going to do what its name suggests, and whack things really hard. Breloom has got a pretty decent buff to its special defense. Breloom gets Mach Punch, Drain Punch, Heat Bomb, Synthesis, Mind Reader, Dynamic Punch, and Superpower. Breloom is also the only Pokemon available that gets access to Spore, so that's a fantastic choice of a move. Breloom is going to hit very hard and also spread status effects, making Breloom pretty great for any team. Scizor is unchanged from Vanilla and unfortunately doesn't get the Ignition ability. For moves, it gets Swords Dance, Bullet Punch, Night Slash, Iron Head, Dual Wing Beat, and Psycho Cut. Scizor is going to hit pretty hard and take some decent hits to that Steel type. Scizor is also our first Pokemon to be able to get the X-Scizor move, which we've had that TM for since the very beginning of the game, so that's fun. Scizor has a wide coverage of moves, and it's going to hit pretty damn hard, and Kingdra is unchanged from Vanilla. Sadly, it doesn't get Sniper for extra crits. For moves, Kingdra gets Octazooka, Dragon Pulse, Surf, Waterfall, and is one of few Rain Dance setters. It gets Dragon Dance and Hurricane. Kingdra is going to thrive in rain teams due to its ability, also boosting water moves, and having Hurricane be 100% accurate. Can't go wrong there. But even without rain, Kingdra is going to be a formidable team member due to its stats and its resistances being weak to only Dragon and Fairy. Bayonet has gotten some great buffs. Being a Ghost normal type, it is weak to only Dark. Bayonet got a huge buff to its physical attack, as well as both of its defenses. For moves, it gets Curse, Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneak, Pain Split, Body Slam, Will-O-Wisp, Destiny Bond, Knockoff, Gunk Shot, Double Edge, and Giga Impact. Bayonet also gets access to Roleplay, allowing it to copy other Pokemon's abilities. And that has near infinite strategies right there alone. While it also doesn't learn any buffing moves, this is also one of few Pokemon that gets Psych Up by TM, meaning it can copy the buff of an Alymon, making it even more dangerous. Bayonet has some amazing utility and makes it a perfect team member, which is just absolutely perfect because we're approaching near the end of the story where recommending team members is going to be very hard. Credilli has got a buff to both of its attacks. Move-wise, it gets Stockpile, Curse, Ingrain, Tickle, Power Whip, Earth Power. With TMs, it gets Sludge Bomb, Energy Ball, Flash Cannon, Rock Slide, and weirdly, it gets Swords Dance of all things. Hell yeah. Credilli being mixed survivability and attacking makes it great for basically any kind of team, really. Alolan Ninetails has got a very small buff to its speed, as well as a great buff to its special attack, and a decent buff to its special defense. For moves, it gets Moonblast, Nasty Plot, Pain Split, Charm, Roleplay. For TMs, it gets Energy Ball, Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, Dark Pulse. While Alolan Ninetails is one of few, if not the only Pokemon that gets Hail, it doesn't get it until level 80, and unless you use Roleplay to get rid of Cloud 9, Hail is going to be entirely useless. Ninetails is also our last Ice or Fairy type that we're going to be getting in the game, if those are something you're looking forward to. And it's also a shame this game is only Gen 3 abilities, because no Snow Warning, and by extension also no Aurora Veil. But even without that, Ninetails is still a pretty good mon. Porygon 2 has got a buff to its special attack, as well as both of its defenses, making it even harder to take down. For moves, it gets Tri Attack, Recover, Lock On, Zap Cannon. With TMs, it gets Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, Icy Wind, Psychic, Ice Beam, Substitute. Porygon 2 has a wide move pool and is tanky as hell. It's a shame there's no Eviolite in this game to make it almost impossible to kill, but honestly, it doesn't need it in this game. Zapdos, the Living Lightning Bolt. Zapdos has high special attack and speed. For moves, Zapdos gets Rain Dance, Hurricane, Weather Ball, and Heat Wave. Brave Bird. Weirdly, it gets high horsepower and Signal Beam for some reason. For TMs, it gets Roost, Thunderbolt, both of the screens. Zapdos works great in both rain or sun teams, but even without the weather, Zapdos is fantastic. Raikou, the Roaring Thunder. Raikou has great speed, special attack, and special defense. For moves, just like the other beasts, it gets extreme speed, roar, and snarl. And also, like the other beasts, it gets a new move every 10 levels. Raikou gets Crunch, Thunder. It gets freaking Aura Sphere. That was a shock. Although it doesn't get Aura Sphere until level 71. Unfortunately, Raikou doesn't get many TMs. It gets both Screens and Thunderbolt. While all of the beasts have very limited movesets in this game, they're all three fantastic Pokemon at what they do. Registeel, the Unwavering Steel. Registeel is the middle golem with very high in both of its defenses. While it doesn't excel in a defense like the other two golems do, Registeel is arguably a better wall than them simply because it's Steel type. Registeel gets Curse, Superpower, Lock-On, Zap Cannon, Dynamic Punch, and for funsies, Explosion. For TMs, it gets Bulldoze, Thunder Punch, Wave, and Bolt. It gets Ice Punch, Flash Cannon, Brick Break, Shadow Claw, Power Up Punch. Registeel has a wide move pool and is a great mon. Arcanine has lost a lot of special attack, but it gained to its speed, making it a very fast physical attacker with some bulk to it. Plus it has Intimidate, being one of the best abilities in the game. For moves, Arcanine gets Play Rough, Wild Charge, Flame Blitz, Superpower, Iron Head, and Outrage. A lot of hard-hitting moves to make use of that high attack stat buff. Altaria got a decent boost to its defense, and a pretty great boost to both of its attacks. For moves, Altaria gets Moonblast, Dragon Dance, Dragon Pulse, Dual Wing Beat, Outrage, Giga Impact, Play Rough, Hurricane. For funsies, it gets Perish Song. With TMs, it gets Bulldoze, Steel Wing, Flamethrower, Earthquake, and Ice Beam. Altaria has so many options, and it's going to do great with all of them. Heracross is unchanged from vanilla. This beetle is going to hit like a truck with moves such as Brick Break, High Horsepower, Smart Strike, and Mega Horn. And also, Heracross weirdly is able to get use of spikes out of every single mon we've been able to use so far. But okay, game. With TMs, it gets Stone Edge, Earthquake, Shadow Claw, Swords Dance, and Rock Slide. This bug is not going to get squashed easily. Flygon has gotten a massive buff to both of its attacks, as well as a buff to its speed, making it a dangerous, fast mixed attacker. For moves, it gets Bug Buzz, Earth Power, Dragon Pulse, Outrage, Dual Wing Beats, Dragon Dance, Boom Burst. With TMs, it gets Fire and Thunder Punch, Steel Wing, Stone Edge, Earthquake, Giga Drain. Flygon has gotten the stats and a move pool to be a feared pseudo-legendary that it deserves to be. Exploud has lost some special defense and gained some HP as well as special attack, but even without the changes, Exploud has such a weird stat distribution that, again, I even wonder how the hell Game Freak decides this stuff. I digress. For moves, it gets Boom Burst, Rest, Sleep Talk, Roar, Double Edge, Surf, and of all things, Fake Tears. I don't know how the hell this thing is gonna fake cry and look non-threatening, but okay. Whatever, game. For TMs, it gets all three elemental punches, Icy Wind, Overheat, Flash Cannon, Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, Brick Break, Ice Beam. Exploud has a tool for any occasion. Crobat is unchanged from vanilla, but honestly, it doesn't need a change. Crobat is a fantastic mon. Has blistering speed and great attack. For moves, it's Dual Wing Beats, Poison Fang, Nasty Plot, Air Slash, Zen Headbutt, Hurricane, Haze, Brave Bird, Heat Wave, and it gets a Leech Life, that one move that went from one of the worst in the game to one of the best in Gen 7. With TMs, it gets Roost, Steel Wing, Aerial Ace, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, and is like one of two mons to get X Scissor. Crobat is fantastic with regard to anything you get. Torkoal has gotten a boost to its attacks. Torkoal has extremely high defense and works perfectly well on Sun teams. For moves, it gets Flamethrower, Heat Wave, Iron Defense, Amnesia, Curse, Weather Ball, Earth Power, Eruption, and Explosion. With TMs, it gets Will-O-Wisp, and Stone Edge, Sludge Bomb, Earthquake. Apparently, according to the game's documentation, it gets Roost and Rapid Spin. I have no idea how you'd get those, since they come on earlier levels before you're even able to get the Torkoal. But regardless, Torkoal has great survivability and makes the perfect mon for a Sun team if you don't wish to use Sunny Day. Crawdaunt has lost a lot of its special attack, but it was put into its attack and its speed. Crawdaunt gets Dragon Dance, Knock Off, Waterfall, Aqua Jet, Crunch, Superpower, freaking Nightshade at level 63, which is just super funny to me. With TMs, it gets Aerial Ace, Brick Break, and X-Scissor. While not the widest move pool, this stupid bastard can be quite a problem at times, as it has for me basically every single time I faced it in this game so far. But my experience aside, Crawdaunt is going to hit like a freight train with the moves it does. Metagross is unchanged from vanilla, but this monstrous pseudo-legendary doesn't even need any changes. Metagross has a lot of resistances, and its high defense makes it tough to go down. It's also going to hit very hard too. For moves, it gets Zen Headbutt, Meteor Mash, Bullet Punch, Agility. With TMs, it gets both Thunder and Ice Punch, Brick Break, Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb, Earthquake, both Screams, and a bunch of other stuff. Metagross is a monster with a very wide move pool, and it's going to be dangerous no matter how you use it. Tyranitar, the other non-dragon pseudo-legendary. Tyranitar has some great bulk, and will hit like the kaiju that it is. For moves, it gets Dragon Dance, High Horsepower, Outrage, Stone Edge, Superpower. With TMs, it gets all 3 Elemental Punches, Flamethrower, Brick Break, Earthquake, Thunderbolt, Shadow Claw, Ice Beam. Tyranitar has a lot of options. The only downsides are it being slow, and the AI is probably going to focus it before it can set up or attack. But other than that, Tyranitar could easily wreck house. Gengar is unchanged from vanilla, although it doesn't need a buff with how fast it is and how strong its special attack is. For moves, Gengar gets Hypnosis, 3 meter, Taunt, Curse, Mean Split, Terrace Song, Explosion, Nasty Plot, Sludge Wave, and Lick. With TMs, it's Icy Wind, Will-O-Wisp, Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, Psychic, Thunderbolt, Giga Drain, Dark Pulse. Gengar has a lot of variety, and be it support, utility, or offense, Gengar is going to be great no matter what. Milotic is unchanged stat-wise, but has gained the Fairy type, making it even more deadly. For moves, Milotic gets Rain Dance, Muddy Water, Dragon Pulse, Recover, Moonblast. With TMs, it's Icy Wind, Scald, Ice Beam, Substitute, Psych Up. While Milotic doesn't have the widest of move pools, it's still going to do great, especially if it gets burned to make use of its ability. Salamence, the last of the pseudo-legends. Like the others, it is unchanged. For moves, it gets Dual Wing Beats, Outrage, Dragon Dance, Wish. With TMs, it gets Stone Edge, Steel Wing, Roost, Aerial Ace, Brick Break, Earthquake, Shadow Claw, and Dragon Claw. Whatever is used with Salamence, it is going to wreck power. Mew the Originator. What's there to really say about this cute little cat? Mew has great stats, all being 100. Mew is also the only mon that can learn any move, so there's just too many strats that I could even list. Notably, Mew is also the only mon that gets access to Psycho Boost. For funsies, it can use Misty Explosion. And last but not least, the most important thing about Mew is it can learn Mystical Fire. I am so glad that move that was so common at the beginning of the game, that we haven't seen so long, it makes its appearance again with this fantastic Pokemon.